Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we are in the shop today, and what we're working on today is a continuation of the last video. You guys will remember that we picked up the Vicrez bumper, we got the replacement C6 Z06 bumper, and eventually these are both going to end up on the Corvette over there. Well, today we actually picked up another product so that we can actually get started on this project, and what that is actually a hot stapler, plastic repair kit, whatever you want to call it. Basically what it is, I picked this up on the internet, on Amazon, and basically what this is, you take your little hot gun, you stick a metal electrode through it, and you turn this thing on. I think this thing heats up to like 600 some degrees, and you put this little metal tab into it, you know, one of these metal pins. And what you're going to do with that is actually stick that in the plastic. And what that's going to do is actually, once it melts in the plastic, that's going to be a secure bond on the backside of your panel. So basically it's kind of almost a stitch, putting two pieces of plastic together and melting it. So what we need to do on the C6 Z06 bumper is actually repair this crack here before we can go ahead and get started on anything else. So we're going to repair this crack using the hot stapler kit, and then eventually we're going to have to build up this bracket right here, you know, that top bracket right there on the bumper. That's all missing. We're going to have to build that up. Then we're going to have to build up this missing corner, which obviously you can see on the other side. There's a flat bracket going this way. We need to make that. And then the vertical part, this triangle, basically that's what's missing. So let's go ahead and get started on the hot staple part right here. This, I was going to kind of grind it down and get it into one spot, but actually if I just hold it, I should be able to just go ahead, press it from the backside with the metal electrode, melt that plastic, you know, that pin in there, and then hold it from the front, and that should get us like at least started on this repair. We have our little pin, electrode, staple, whatever you want to call it. We've got it inside our gun, and basically you're just going to wait for the press the button, and when that hits red, you can go ahead and stick it into the panel. So this might be kind of hard to demonstrate, but basically what I'm doing is trying to line up the panel so that it's tight. And I think what I'm going to do is just go ahead and start on the bottom. All right, from what I've read, you don't want to pull it out. You want to leave it in. Give it a little, no, pulled right out. All right, well, this might take a few tries, but we'll go ahead and try to get this panel pinned back together. All right, guys, I ended up putting 4 of those clips into this crack. It's holding up okay. I'm not saying that that's going to be the best tool to use, and you guys might even be able to see I pushed a little hard, and I almost popped through this end, but that's all right. So that's the front. Here's the back of it. Kind of looks like you butcher up the panel. You kind of do. You are melting it, but you know, that was just so that we can kind of get this crack tightened up a little bit and be good to go for the next step. All right, so we got a little channel carved out. I'll be honest, guys, I didn't do too great of a job, and another one of those stupid hot staples just popped out the back. So maybe we don't end up using the hot stapler. I don't know at this point, but they are still secure on the bottom. It is holding the bottom still tight, but these top ones, maybe just because there's an actual gap, and I don't know. But I've already tried to melt like 3 or 4 of those things in the top. There's not much material left to try to, you know, melt it to. So we're just going to go ahead and use some of the epoxy. And so this is the Auto Body Plastic VZR 101. It's their 50 milliliter size, and I'm just gonna mix this like on a piece of wood or piece of paper or something, and get a little batch and go ahead and get it in the crack. All right, guys, you can see we got the corner fixed. It's no longer flexing in two parts. You guys will see we do have two holes that I drilled here and here. And what I ended up doing was I couldn't get the panel lined up and like clamped down. There's simply no place to clamp here to try to hold two pieces of plastic together. And what I initially tried to do, I took a piece of metal, drilled two holes in it, and put it through those two holes, but it just wasn't tight enough. It lined it up pretty well, but it just wasn't as tight as I wanted it to. And so since I already had two small holes on each side of the panel, what I did was I just simply took a zip tie, stuck it through one end, stuck it through the other, and tightened it. And then I got that as tight as I could. So that pretty much did pinch the two pieces of the bumper together, and it did draw it out real nice. Now you guys will see I have sanded right here. I basically, when I beveled it yesterday, I kind of put too much of the Vicrez plastic epoxy on there. Kind of put too much in there. And so what I did was I sanded it flat. All right, guys, so you can see that we have kind of prototyped a new edge that we're going to need to do. You guys will notice that I have this like welding clamp on here. That's because I actually ended up picking up this Capri Tools 3 set of locking welding clamp set. Has the 11-inch C-clamp, that's what's on the bumper right now, your sheet metal clamp, and then you've got a welding clamp. And I picked this set up on Amazon. Actually, it came next day prime, so that was pretty cool. I picked it up. I ordered it Friday. It is Saturday. It just got here. And it's really going to help us with this, getting all these, not prototype, but, you know, these rough cardboard edges, these mock-ups, all cut out and set up for what we need to do. So as you guys can see, I actually cut out a piece of cardboard, you know, a little bit of a cardboard template, based it off the other side of the bumper, and I lined it up with the back of this slot right here. And as you guys can see, you know, it's going to line up pretty well with the existing body seam here. So we're going to need to come out a good, I don't know what is it, that's like maybe 6 inches, something like that. So when I thought this edge was going to be a lot smaller, it's actually going to be kind of significant. Because if you guys look underneath, this template is actually covering up a big hole. So you think that there's material right here, but honestly there's a giant crack. All right, guys, you can see I cut a chunk of the bumper out with a jigsaw. That's down over here. I used a wood cutting blade that cut that like butter, came right out. And then we took our template and we cut out a piece of that bumper that, like we said, and this is roughly the same shape. Then you guys can see my little grinder right here. I ended up using that to scuff the surface of that piece of plastic, as well as to fine tune the edge between the existing bumper cover and the new piece of plastic that we're trying to fuse to it. So what we're going to do now is use the Vicrez R101, and basically we're going to fill in this crack right here, you know, this edge right here, and we're just going to do the top. And if you guys can see on bottom, I do have some brown duct tape. I don't really have a really good way to support this from the back. I tried to paint stick with some self-tapping screws, and all that ended up doing was just cracking the paint stick. So that's how we reverted to duct tape. And since we're not trying to like squeeze two pieces together, you know, since we're replacing a piece, you know, we don't have the same issue that we had down over here on the side with trying to get that perfectly aligned, because we're basically filling in a piece. All right, so we squeezed out equal bits of the Vicrez 101, and now we're just gonna mix it. Since we're doing such a small piece, I'm not gonna use the tips of the Vicrez, if that makes sense. Basically, it would just be a waste of material. So since we're using these small little pieces, we're just gonna mix it by hand. You wanna mix it until it's fully black, because this obviously has hardener in it. That was the clear stuff. Then you had your kind of black colored base, if that's what we want to call it. So once we get this all mixed up, we should be good to go, and then start the adhesive process. All right, guys, we end up finishing putting our first layer on. I actually end up just using the toothpick that we used to stir it with. Just kind of stuck it in the crack and stuck it down as far as I could. A little bit ran down the side here, a little bit ran down the side here. We got a little bit on the bottom of the bumper, but that's all right. All right, guys, the glue work that we did yesterday has dried. It's fully cured, and when you wiggle the bumper, it wiggles the entire flange that we have. Now what we need to do is obviously close this flange up. So I cut out a little template. This is our piece of cardboard. Now there actually is a body seam. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see that, but there is a 1/4 inch seam on the end of this. And so what I did was I took my template, I cut a 1/4 inch short. And so what we did was we took that template, we cut out another piece of the bumper. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna glue this in something like that. We obviously are gonna trim this down a little bit. And so what we're basically gonna do is put a V on this edge, also those same 2 edges on the piece. So we're gonna glue this in something along the lines of that. All right guys, so we got our little patch piece in. It's kind of hard to see, but we end up using the VZR101 again. And basically we just glued it on 2 sides. We glued it on the top flange, we glued it on the bottom flange. And as you guys can see, there is a little piece of duct tape. I've got a piece of tape supporting it from the back, from the top. I also got another piece coming in from the bumper itself to the new patch piece. And we're gonna let this dry. All right guys, so you can see that we finished putting all of the patch pieces in. This is the back corner. We cut that off the back of the bumper. You know, we're obviously looking at the inside of the bumper now. And as you guys know that we replaced this entire corner. So the top, the bottom, the flange going to the fender liner, as well as the corner on the outside. So we have fully reconstructed this. Now this isn't going to be the final version of this. There may have to be a little bit more plastic added on, you know, when we start fitting the bumper. But this should get us close enough to where we could bolt it to the car. And as you guys might be able to see, there is a little bit of mesh right there. And what this mesh is, this is actually from 3M. This is some nylon reinforcement mesh. This is meant for patching bumpers. So I believe this was like $20 for 12 feet of it by 5 inches. So it is pretty expensive. So we're going to use it sparingly. But basically what we're doing with this, we're going to be using this mesh along with more panel bond on the back to create a reinforcement. So we'll have panel bond on the front. We'll have the plastic pieces that we cut out and added in. Then we'll have on the back, we'll have this nylon mesh from 3M, like I said. And we're going to basically bond this to the panel, to the bumper, with some more panel bond. So, all right guys, we have completed putting the mesh reinforcement on the back. A lot of this I literally just finished, so it's going to be looking real wet and real sticky. But this side over here, we've already kind of completed. We put mesh on the bottom. We 90-degreed it up. And it kind of went up the wall of the bumper. So that should be good. This other section we're going to have to let dry. I think honestly, I'm going to probably come back over tomorrow. We'll let this dry for 24 hours. And we'll put another coat of the panel bond on top of the mesh that's drying right now. So that should be complete. And so with that being said, that is actually going to be the end of the bumper repair video today. You guys don't really need to see all the sanding and patching and all that. You guys have seen that before. Sanding, put maybe a little bit more of the plastic filler on, sand that down, and you know, call it a day. But if you guys want to see the C7 bumper, we should be moving on to that next. And what that will entail will be chopping down the C7 bumper, chopping down the C6 Z06 bumper, and kind of ending somewhere in the middle. I haven't quite figured out where we're going to make our cuts or any of that stuff, but that'll be in the next video. So if you guys want to see that, hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. And if you guys want to help support the people that support us, go check out Vicrez.com. That's where the bumper is from. That's where the panel bond is from. And we should have some link down to all that stuff. Maybe we'll have a link for the 3M patch panel nylon mesh. We'll have a link for that down below. And make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.